All right, we've got more shakeup. We've got more confusion coming out of the Justin Thomas camp, where now we've got confirmation of one of his coaches being fired. And we've got some rumors here that we've got to dive into of whether or not JT is also benching his longtime one and only swing coach, his father, Mike Thomas. So what's true? What's rumors? We've got the quotes here. We're going to dig into them and find out exactly what's happening. And there's no doubt about it that there's definitely some big time pressure on the Justin Thomas team right now. JT had, of course, by his standards and by most standards, he had a really rough season. No wins, failed to make the FedEx Cup Playoffs. So, of course, JT is undoubtedly disappointed. And this is what usually leads to some sort of shakeups when it comes to teams and coaches. But we've also got plenty of controversy. We broke it down in depth here on the podcast. JT, of course, being selected by Zach Johnson as a captain's pick for the Ryder Cup. Whether or not that was something that he really should have been selected, or if there was somebody else who should have picked in his place. We talked about guys like Keegan Bradley, who had a terrific season. Some other guys who just are not going to be making it out to Rome this year, while JT is. We broke all that down. A lot of you had some great comments about who you thought should be selected in his place. So no doubt there's a lot of weight riding on Justin Thomas' shoulders. But first, let's get into a little bit about these talks about who's on the team, who's off the team at this point, and how JT is moving forward as he tries to work his way through some of these struggles. So this first was kind of confirmed by Todd Lewis, who is a Golf Channel reporter. I'm going to tell you what he said in a second, but where the rumors initially began, where JT had released his putting coach, John Graham. This first started around the time of the Open Championship. So this is going back just a couple of months. And John had been on the team for quite a while, dating as far back as 2020. So this is not somebody who had just joined the team. So as the rumor mill was just kind of winding up on whether John was in or out, what Todd Lewis had said, he said, in regards to his putting, he has struggled with his putting, of course, talking about JT. He said he has parted ways with John Graham, who has been his putting coach for a while. He's worked with him on aim point. I don't know if this is a permanent thing or a temporary pause right now, but he's trying to figure his putting out for himself. Now, what we're going to talk about is a common theme here of seemingly Justin Thomas trying to just use his own knowledge to just try to dig himself out or grind his way out of the struggles that he's having both on and off the putting greens. It's a common theme that you're going to see, and I think something that is really driving a lot of these rumors is the fact that JT has been looking like he's been working on a lot of the stuff on his own rather than more directly with coaches, but where it kind of got a little bit more contentious, and we're going to talk about Mike Thomas, Justin Thomas's father's response to this in just a second. But where it got a little bit more contentious, a little bit more speculative, is where we had Todd Lewis said, he's kind of put his father a little bit in the background. They've worked it out together. JT wants to own his swing. Mike wasn't with him at the Wyndham Championship this year when he tried to make the playoffs. So he's kind of digging it out in the dirt himself, but still consulting with his father, who, by the way, they still have a wonderful relationship, but that's where he is with his swing right now. So when Todd said that, it kind of really kicked up the rumor mill. People were saying, well, it's true, we haven't seen Mike Thomas at some of these events like the Wyndham. Does that mean that Mike is now taking either a back seat or is going to be working his way out of this role of being JT's direct swing coach? Could we possibly see an announcement of another coach coming in? And again, like I said, we saw, even watching social media, there was plenty of times where JT was kind of grinding it out himself. However, going back to May, if you look at it a little bit closer, JT is trying to implement some swing changes to try to fix this. That's when we saw his father, Mike Thomas, much more involved. You see this on JT's social media. You see this if you're watching some of the PGA Tour broadcasts. You see Mike being a little bit more involved there. So is this something that is a little bit too much speculation? Well, they put it directly to Mike Thomas himself. In a recent interview, Golf Digest asked him. They mentioned some of these rumors that were coming up. And this is, I don't want to pin, of course, all of this on Todd Lewis either. This is something that once the rumor mill gets a hold of it, it kind of just takes a life of its own and just runs. But got to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? So Mike Thomas, they asked him about it, and he said, "You're kidding. That's just stupid." This is, of course, in response to the idea of whether or not JT had benched him and moved on from him as a swing coach. So, of course, he says, "You're kidding. That's just stupid." He goes, "That's what some people in the media do. It's ridiculous. I just left Justin. We worked all morning." And then Mike Thomas goes on to say, "But listen, if he did fire me and it was for the better, then what's the problem? I guess they have something to talk about." So, of course, he's laughing off the rumors a little bit there. But the thing to keep in mind here and thing to remember is that Mike Thomas is also JT's father. And that's been a hard line a little bit for the two of them to walk. JT has been quoted in the past saying he has to sometimes remind his father that, like, I need you. If you see something wrong, step in, say something, be willing to do it. And that's a hard role, of course, for Mike to play, where you want to be both the supportive fan, the father, that level of support, and play that role in JT's life. But you're also the swing coach, and you want to be able to step in and say, "Hey, we got to fix this. This is wrong." So clearly this is kind of saying, and this is Mike Thomas not only kind of laughing off that idea and just saying it's just the ebb and flow of a normal working relationship, but also saying, like, if at the end of the day, if JT wanted to go and work with another swing coach, he's still his father. He's there to support him. His feelings are not necessarily going to be hurt. So there's a lot here. There's at least, like I said, at least one coach down. JT, if you watch his social, he's continuing to grind it out. There's a lot of work with him on the range. And like I said, there's so much pressure on him. And the real question that it boils down to for me, and what we're going to really have to see as it unfolds in these coming weeks, is what the pressure ultimately does to Justin Thomas. There is no doubt JT wants to play his absolute best, not only for his country when we get into the Ryder Cup, but also for his good friend, Zach Johnson, who put a ton of faith in JT, putting him on this team over some other guys who had arguably far better seasons and are in far better form than JT is. There is no doubt that JT is going to want to win for Zach Johnson and make that pick look like it was the right thing to do, because if Justin Thomas does not perform well in Rome, you know really well that a lot of questions are going to be thrown at Zach Johnson, and they're going to question him as a captain. There's going to be a lot of people who are upset with that's the direction of the team in general. A lot of you have expressed that in the comments. Of course, the comments are open, so make sure you weigh in. But ultimately, lots riding on it. JT, though, not someone who's unfamiliar with pressured situations. I don't think he's going to necessarily crumble under the pressure, but there's no doubt with all this struggle and these rumor mills flying that it's going to make it even harder for him to do what he needs to do for this Ryder Cup. Also, a lot of people have said, is this going to be the catalyst, this team environment that turns Justin Thomas's whole ship, rights the ship, turns it around, and gets him back on track? Well, we're going to have to find out that. That's going to be important, because we also have a lot of big changes coming to the PGA Tour. We talked about this in depth. Make sure you check out this video. We're going to bring you all up to speed on what's going on between the PGA Tour and LIV as they work to start to combine their schedules with 18 massive payout events starting in 2025. Check out that clip. We'll bring you right up to speed on it.